We're going to talk a little bit more about the 3 on guard positions mentioned in lesson 1. So we're looking at neutral, aggressive, and passive on guard. Each one has its own kind of role. We're really going to jump into that here. Let's start first with the neutral on guard. So when you're in this position, you're really sitting right on your hips in the middle. You're not favoring one side or the other. This is a very good place to start when you are on guard, waiting for your referee to get you started. It just allows you to facilitate a lot more action. You can be both aggressive in this position and defensive. But there are downsides. If you are in the neutral position, it does take longer to communicate an attack. And of course, when you're being defensive, if you're right here in the middle, your target hasn't been displaced, so it is a little closer for your opponent to hit, but not as close as the aggressive position. And of course, that leads us into the aggressive on guard. In the aggressive on guard, you are displacing forward a fair bit. And this is meant to help shorten the distance between you and your opponent when you make your attack. You're already leaning forward, so your attack is already kind of initiated. So as soon as your referee calls alley, you can go right off the line, you can make your attack. The downside here is it does pretty much communicate to your opponent that you're going to attack. They're expecting it. Nothing wrong with that in Sabre. We are a very aggressive weapon, so moving right off the line is pretty common. But when you're defending, you definitely don't want to use the aggressive on guard. The reason why is your target is communicated forward a little bit more. So when you're retreating, it's healthy to kind of lean back. This pulls your target away. You can push with your front foot as you're skipping in your retreat. So again, neutral is really good just for figuring things out. Aggressive, definitely for making your attack, so it lets it come out a lot sooner. You can hit your opponent in time a lot better. But when you're defending, defensive on guard where you're leaning back, pulling your target away, this really helps you avoid those close cuts. So, movement in Sabre is essentially the same as it is in foil, and in épée for that matter. When you're advancing forward, your front foot is essentially moving first. When you're retreating, it's your back foot. But as you advance in Sabre, it's important to recognize a distinction here. In Sabre, because we are really talking about speed in the advance and in the retreat, you're going to find it's going to be a little bit more like a lunge than it is just a step. So in foil and épée, it's a step. Everything's starting with the front foot. It lands, your back foot follows. Whereas in Sabre, what you're really doing is you're kind of lifting your foot up as you're pushing with your back. So you're not so much taking a step as you are doing like these rapid lunges where you're recovering almost immediately. So you're pushing with your back leg. Same thing when you're doing a retreat. You're lifting up your back foot and you're pushing with your front. And this really just facilitates a quicker movement. So as you get more comfortable in Sabre, you're looking at changing the order. So you're going to lift your front foot and push with your back to start your advance, and you're going to lift your back foot and push with your front when you're doing your retreat, just like that. The biggest difference that separates Sabre from foil and épée as it relates to footwork is the rule of crossing your feet. So the way it used to be is that you could chase your opponent down the piece quite literally like a sprint. This happened a lot, but it made for a lot of messy action. So a rule was introduced that forbade the crossing of your feet. So now in Sabre, if you are making the advance, you have to do it this way. If you are caught crossing your feet in the advance, this is an immediate penalty. You're going to get a card for this. However, you are allowed to cross your feet in the retreat like this. That is permitted, but not in the advance.